Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel, your number one source for income-oriented investing. Today we're doing a reaction video to a guy, the dividend guy. From his accent, he seems like he's from Quebec, a French Canadian. Asti de calice tabarnak Saint-Thibois. Yes, I'm also from Quebec, by the way. I'm so happy I left, but that's a story for a different time. Let's talk about this guy's video. Covered call ETFs suck. Here's the undeniable proof. What really bothered me the most about this video is that he calls covered call ETFs a scam, not once, not twice. And anyway, let's see what he says.
All right, so if you are an income-seeking investor, I hope that you are ready for this because you're not going to like what I'm about to tell you. Covered call ETFs are a scam, and that's not a clickbait. It's actually the truth. And
it is a clickbait, and it's a complete and utter lie.
in this video, I'm going to show you step by step what would be your life for the past 10 years if you would have retired on covered call ETF versus investing in a much better approach. What's going to cost you? Well, if you select
already all kinds of red flags. Number one, he called them a scam. Then he said a better approach, or the best. Whenever you hear that language and he says the best elsewhere, you know you can't trust someone like that.
the covered call ETF over the past 10 years, it cost you more than $300,000. That's why I'm saying it's a big scam. So even if you're 75 today, chances are you're going to hit 85, 90, maybe 95. So even over 10 years, this strategy is a concern for you. And I'm pretty sure that your spouse, your children, or your grandchildren could use that extra $300,000 if you decide to select something different. So to make the comparison today, we're going to look at ZWB.to, which is a covered call done by BMO on the...
So essentially what he does for the next few minutes, guys, is compare ZWB versus ZEB. So ZWB is a big covered call ETF in Canada. It's the six big banks, six Canadian big banks with covered calls, and ZEB is without the covered calls. And he basically, for the next couple of minutes, does all kinds of nonsense to basically tell you what should be quite obvious, and you should already know if you really understand how what covered call ETF is, how it's designed, and what it does is that ZEB is outperforming, or it's beating the ZWB, right? The non-covered call ETF is beating the covered call ETF, which is of course completely logical and expected, and anyone who understands how covered call ETFs work will realize that. So let me just go to his final thoughts. Let's see what he says here.
Why is there such a huge difference between the covered call ETF and the underlying asset? It's quite simple. First, you have fees, and second thing, you have also the strategy that is there. So when the stock price goes up too fast, the covered call will be exercised, and then yes, you're going to buy back the shares and you made some money by selling the options, but in the meantime, if the stock price went up by another 10% above...
So what he's saying here is actually the truth. This is actually very, very accurate, and I've talked about this in the honest truth about covered call ETFs video, which I strongly suggest you watch. Basically, guys, you should all know this in one sentence. Putting covered calls on something, on anything, you're sacrificing the upside, you're capping your upside for yield. So the two main reasons why a covered call ETF will always underperform, in this video I say 99.9% chance, most likely its underlying asset is that one, they have higher fees, and fees do matter long term, right? They eat into your total return or your performance, and the stock market goes up over time more than it goes down, and at covered call strategies, you're sacrificing upside for more yield. So it's very, very obvious, and he continues to go on to basically say that there's a better way, and he's gonna sell his book and you can buy his book.
Well, then too bad for you. The other person just a lot of money. We'll explain three things. The first one, it will explain you how high yield solution is bad for your retirement portfolio. The second one, it will explain why low yield, high growth stocks are a lot better and will generate total return that will make you enjoy your retirement the way you deserve it. And three, you're going to see how you can build that portfolio and how you can generate.
So obviously, from the guy's t-shirt, banner, the dividend guy. So I'm assuming he's a dividend stock investor that either picks dividend stocks. I would assume that his channel is all about picking and analyzing individual dividend stocks, even though the better way would probably just to buy an ETF, which let's talk about, right? So let me just give you my comments before we look at some other evidence here. So this is the influencer that you should be the most careful of. This is probably the worst type of influencer, investing influencer, and not just investing in, this goes for anything else as well. If someone is telling you that their way is the best or there's a better way, you have to stay away from these people because they have tunnel vision. They have confirmation bias. My way or the highway, right? It doesn't make any sense. The truth is that covered call ETFs are not a scam. Just because they underperform their underlying does not make something a scam. It's so stupid that he says this, guys. It's unbelievable. Is fixed income a scam? Fixed income always underperforms equities over the long term. Why would someone ever buy bonds or corporate bonds or government, treasuries or whatever? Anything in the fixed income universe tends to underperform stocks or equities over the long term. So is fixed income a scam? Right? People are not buying fixed income. What about GICs and CDs? Are they a scam? No. Are people buying GICs and bonds and lower risk assets to maximize their performance and total return and to beat equities? No, they're buying it for the defensive nature of the product. Well, the same thing goes with covered call ETFs, guys. They're designed for a specific purpose. They're designed to give you more yield and more defense than the underlying. I've talked about this at length in this video, the honest truth about covered call ETFs. So just the fact that this guy is calling them a scam, guys, should be raising red flags in your head right off the bat. And I know, my veteran watchers would see something like this and they would laugh, but I'm making more of this video for newer investors who just see these videos and take everything at face value. So it may absolutely make no sense. It makes no sense. Of course, ZEB is going to outperform ZWB over the long term because the Canadian banks go up over the long term and there's higher fee on that ETF. Of course, but ZWB is not designed to beat ZEB in terms of performance. It's designed to give you higher consistent income, to give you more defense and less volatility than ZEB. And I discussed this at length many times. That is really the goal of covered call ETFs. But this guy's calling them a scam. I think he did another video where he poops on split funds as well. So guys, this not only goes for investing. Let me just, I'm almost 40 years old now. I'm not 60. I don't have a world of experience, but I think I have enough experience to tell you that you got to be open-minded about everything, and you got to stay away from these types of people. I would never myself say income investing is the best. It's better than index investing. It's better than growth investing. It's better than dividend investing. Never. It's the best strategy for me. That's a big difference. This is not what this guy is preaching. He's saying the dividend strategy is the best for retirement. There's a better way. It's complete nonsense, guys. You should never allow people to tell you how to live your life. You shouldn't make people or believe people that tell you this way to lose weight is the best. This way to cook is the best. This way to get in shape is the best. You should pray to this God. You should, you know what I'm trying to say? These are the type of people that you should stay the hell away from, because only you should be telling yourself how to live your life and what to do things. So scam, I don't think so. Complete and utter nonsense, right? And most of the people who talk crap about covered call ETFs or the income strategy, they typically, if you could put it all in one umbrella, whether they start nitpicking on the performance, they do, a lot of them talk about the high fees, of course. So they always nitpick at certain things, but they always focus on the numbers, which is important, but it's not the only thing that's important. Of course, they never talk about how if you invest this way, you could retire 5, 10, 15 years or more earlier. What about that total return? I mean, life is about life. It's not just about numbers. So can you imagine retiring 5, 10, 15 years earlier? And I've met a lot of people that came to see me in Panama face to face just to tell me that I retired 10 years earlier because of that? What about that total return? Can you put a price tag on that, guys? No, you can't. Time is the most important and most valuable thing in the world, guys. So that's very, very important, right? So you can't discriminate. I don't discriminate on other investing strategies. I think the growth investing strategy is great, dividend strategy is great, income strategy is great. It's all about figuring out which one works best for you. You can mix and match them. And this is why my product, for example, compared to his dividend income for life book, has portfolio samples for growth, for dividend, and for income as well. So you got to keep an open mind about this. Don't believe people that say their method isn't the best. This is how you should live. This is the God you should pray to. This is etc. etc. You got to figure out your own way. Let's just look at a few examples, guys. I know I'm rambling here a bit, but I feel very strongly about this. I really, really dislike people like this. I think they're a really bad influence and give investing, DIY investing just a bad name. It's all sensationalized, right? It's all about, it's a lie and it is clickbait. He literally said it at the beginning. This is not a lie, or this is not clickbait and this is the truth. No, in reality, it's a lie. It's not a scam and it is clickbaity, right? So when it comes to dividend stocks, guys, VDY is an ETF. I'm assuming this guy focuses, from his accent, mostly on Canadian dividend stocks. And you could just get them all with one ETF, VDY, right? This is like probably the highest performing Canadian dividend ETF out there. This is from Vanguard, low fee, just dividend stocks, no leverage, no covered calls, of course. You have access to all the best dividend stocks. So this is, my opinion, a much easier way than stock picking, less dangerous way, and most probably just with this you'll outperform you picking and choosing individual stocks most likely. So let's compare VDY to a covered call ETF, ETSX, which is the TSX 60, which is top 60 Canadian stocks in Canada, mostly dividend stocks with covered calls, obviously a higher yield than VDY and a higher fee at 45. If we just do the returns, VDY versus ETSX, guys, ETSX is beating VDY, not by much, but it is still beating it, or has very, very good similar performance, right? So he's nitpicking ZEB versus ZWB. He's omitting everything else. Here's an example where his story starts to break down, where it doesn't make sense. Let's look at another one, HDIV, which is an ETF that has a over 2% management fee. A lot of people like to poop on that, but that's because it's a leveraged ETF. The management fee is actually approximately 65 basis points, 0.65, which is even higher than the 0.45, of course, from this one, and even and much higher than VDY. So, this, I'll admit, does have US exposures as well, but it has a lot of Canadian exposure. They're trying to get the sector mix up, the TSX 60, which mirrors the Canadian market. So what about HDIV versus VDY? Well, HDIV is beating VDY, guys. Again, so that just proves to you can't just nitpick certain funds. The reality is, and by the way, HDIV is completely destroying the TSX 60, just the overall Canadian market, which has a lot of the stocks VDY is in. So this is just a few examples where, it proves to you that most of what people say, or when they poop on covered call ETFs, that they're nitpicking certain things. But if you really put everything together of all the negatives, you could all boil it down to one thing: performance or total return. And like I talked about in this video, yes, I do admit that. And it's just designed that way. Covered call ETFs will have lower, most probably, performance. Not all the time. Look at HDIV doing good, right? And ETSX. But most likely, over the long term, they will underperform things without covered call ETFs, like indexed funds, right? They have very low fees, whether it's TSX 60 or S&P 500, most likely. Why? It's not rocket science. The guy said it in his video. That's the only honest thing he said in there. Is that it's because of the strategy and the higher fees. So just because they underperform the underlying does not make it a scam. I can't believe you would say something so stupid. So check out that video if you want to learn more. And I also have this one here. High yield income investing channels are exploding. You got a lot of influencers now that are making these flashy thumbnails that are calling things scam that are absolutely not scams. It's absolutely horrendous. So I feel bad for newer investors, honestly, because the income strategy might be a great strategy for you, but if you see a video like this and just get it out of your head, well, it's not good. So you got to be immune to this crap. How do you get immune to this? You keep an open mind. You actually research and understand what these ETFs are designed for, what the strategy is, and know what your investing goals are. Not his investing goals, your investing goals are. The truth is, the income and covered call ETFs, the income strategy, the strategy that I do could be great for retirees to give you high income. You could retire 5, 10, 15 years earlier. Of course, nobody ever talks about that, right? Nobody ever, just numbers they talk about, not time and life and really what's most important. So I know I'm rambling on, but hopefully this video was informative for you and you get the point. And coming soon, I know I've been getting a lot of requests for this. I will actually do a video comparing the dividend or dividend growth strategy to the income strategy. So I'll go through the pros and cons, which is what you should be doing instead of just pooping on it and saying your strategy is the best. So take care and see you next time.